I'll be speaking with Joy Metzler. She's taking part in the 40-day fast of Veterans for Peace to protest the starvation of Palestinians in Gaza. Metzler is an Air Force veteran and is now a conscientious objector. Good afternoon, or good morning, I'm not sure. I saw a video of you with other veterans near the UN building. Are you there now or near it?
Yeah, so I'm in a cafe we've kind of been using as our launching point. We're on the sidewalk directly in front of the US mission to the UN, as our government is probably one of the most complicit out there in the entirety of countries. So we are out there from 9:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. in the afternoon. Sometimes some of our members go and support other actions happening throughout the city.
Excellent. So, why did you join the fast?
I joined the fast because I'm devastated at what's going on. Words are not enough at this point, and the fast was a great way to kind of get involved, do something, get out there on the streets, raise awareness. And actually, during this fast, we're doing a series of performance actions as well to try and do a little bit more than just stand out there and sign wave. But at the end of the day, this is the least I could do. I wanted to do more than just write stuff and post things on my Instagram. So that's one of the main reasons I'm out here in New York City with the rest of the folks out here.
I understand you're not from New York. What's your home state?
Florida. Florida. We live on the Space Coast right now. I separated while I was stationed at Patrick Air Force Base, and my husband's down there stationed at Cape Canaveral right now. So that's where we were, where I'm coming from right now.
I understand. So, what prompted you to join the U.S. military?
Well, I mean, I really joined because I thought our country was doing the right thing. That's what I grew up post 9/11. That's what I had been taught, was that we were keeping the peace, protecting our people, protecting freedom, democracy, whatever buzzword you have. And that's really, I wanted to join to help people. And when I realized that that's not at all what the US does with its military, that we are more of a destabilizing force, that we kill more people than we actually help. And at the end of the day, we don't even do it for any delusions of grandeur like democracy or freedom. We do it to fund our politicians who are heavily invested in the military industrial complex. When I realized all of that, I said, this is not what I thought I was going to do. I'm not helping people. I'm actually going against my morals by staying in. And so I left.
So, how long were you in the Air Force?
I graduated from the Air Force Academy in 23. So I entered the academy in 2019. And then I was in graduate school from June 20, well, August 2023 to December 2024. That was a civilian graduate school at Georgia Tech. And that's kind of where I started doing my deconstruction work. And then while I was waiting for my conscientious objector application to be processed, I was in Patrick for 4 months or so. I separated on April 25th. So my entire time in the military after the academy only amounted to like a year and 10 months.
So, separated means leaving the military.
Right, correct.
Did others in your Air Force unit or college often talk about world events, and in particular warfare in Palestine and Israel?
I could get people to talk about it. It was normally me facilitating the conversation as something that I deeply cared about. And for some officers, I was able to get them to care about the violations of international law. But most people in the military kind of are caring about themselves, their family, and doing their job. And I don't think a lot of people see how our role in the military contributes to Palestine, the genocide going on in Palestine. And really, people in the Air Force out of all branches should be talking about this. Their efforts are going directly towards sending those weapon shipments over to Israel. A friend of mine who had to leave the military over this as well, he was personally loading weapons onto planes. And so
Mm.
it's I think when I realized everything that was going on, I was expecting more military members to talk about it. It's an important thing to talk about because ultimately we are players in the world order as the enforcement arm of the US, but not a lot of people, I guess, have the capacity to think about it, the time, the energy, so on and so forth. But I think that needs to change.
So let me ask you about a fast. What you're taking in 250 calories a day. Could you explain that number and tell us what does it mean? What do you eat and drink every day?
So 250 calories a day comes from an Oxfam report that said that Gazans are getting 250 calories a day on average. Now, this number has probably changed quite a bit since we first cited that report. But the reason that we're doing 250 calories is one, we're not interested in having to bow out in the middle of our 40-day fast, which might have happened had we completely cut food out. The other thing that we do is we take in a lot of water, we take in a lot of electrolytes. Personally, I used an electrolyte source that has calories, which counted towards my 250 calorie limit, but we're trying to get 0 calorie electrolytes. 250 calories really isn't a lot, so we're still hungry. It's still considered a starvation diet. I'm definitely losing weight. But at the end of the day, it's nothing compared to what Palestinians are going through. They're going sometimes days without any kind of food. They don't have clean water, and goodness, they're having to walk around miles, either because Israel has told them to evacuate a place that they're bombing, or going to one of 4 distribution aid centers, being forced to stand out there in corrals, and then getting shot at as they're trying to get life-saving aid. So this is just a small fraction of what Palestinians are going through, and a lot of us understand that even getting 250 calories with plenty of clean water, getting to supplement our diet with electrolytes, that's really a privilege for us, and we don't want people to forget how hellish it is for Palestinians on the ground in Gaza right now.
So how does that fast, that modified fast feel? Are you always hungry? Are you getting weak? What is it like?
A few of our members are definitely getting weaker. In the time, so I arrived here on the 28th and and that's when I met a lot of the guys out here. And just watching day by day them get more and more exhausted, they're dragging. And we've had to tell people, like, for their own health so that they can show up for the rest of the day. They need to stay home a day. We're in New York City, so we're walking a decent amount, maybe more than we're certainly not couch potatoes, and we're standing out there in the sun in front of the US mission for a good amount of hours too. We brought out wheelchairs for some of the older folks. They're in their 80s or so, and they're on starvation diets, have pre-existing health conditions. It's not been easy for sure, but imagine, we're not doing too great. We're pretty tired all the time, and you know, bless everyone who's trying to keep up the energy. But if we're doing poorly, just again, imagine how badly Palestinians are doing right now. It's terrible, and we're hoping we can at least give them a little bit of strength by showing that we stand in solidarity with them, and hope to really explain to people exactly what starvation does to a person. I think there's a temptation to just say, oh, people are starving. That means they're just a little hungry. No, starvation is an extreme thing to put the body through. Not only while you're starving, but afterwards, the recovery is very difficult. And we're going to try and go into a little bit more detail once we're near the end of our fast, because a lot of us have been talking about how we're going to have to really readjust our body to taking food again. So this is a problem that persists even beyond when Palestinians get that humanitarian aid that they so desperately need, completely putting aside the fact that they are being shot at right now by this so-called Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. It's the furthest thing from humanitarian aid. So our first demand of humanitarian aid under the UN authorities still stands. And unfortunately, we are seeing exactly why we need that.
Yeah. So you want people to know what's going on. That's the purpose of your fast, your public fast. So what have been the reactions? They see you, you're carrying signs. I think you said you did some kind of street theater. What have been the reactions of the public?
So I think just like any kind of Palestine protest, we get a mix of reactions. A lot of people are very happy to see what we're doing. They're very grateful. There's other people who throw jeers, and everything like that, just the normal like calling us terrorists, asking where we're getting money from, and silly things like that. And I'm at a point where I'm really hoping they come up with new insults because those are just getting boring. We had an incident this morning where there were a couple guys who got right up in our faces and started screaming at some of our members. And so we're trying to be a little cautious. We understand that there is a lot of vitriol being thrown at our protesters right now. But for the most part, we have been very de-escalatory. Obviously, we don't encourage interactions with those people. We don't even yell after them if they're walking by. We just ignore them, not interested in giving them the satisfaction of a minute of our day. So, but for the most part, the support we've been getting makes all of those silly comments worth it.
Now, you were in the military and you now have a conscientious objector status. So explain that for those who don't know what that means, conscientious objector.
So conscientious objection legally, when in pertain as it pertains to the U.S. military, is a complete objection to war in all forms and one's individual participation in it. So it's actually a very narrow legal definition, and oftentimes people have to be very specific with their wording because depending on who you have looking at your application, they might try and trip you up on something to and find an excuse to deny your application. It varies widely leadership to leadership. It varies widely in time. It's only supposed to take 3 months on paper, but I think the average amount of time for an application being accepted is like a year long. But at the end of the day, it's the only recourse military members really have to follow their morals in a way that's not going to risk non-judicial punishment, a court martial even. And so it's a very difficult process, and that's for a reason, but the fact that it's the only process is a huge problem that military member, and it really limits the capability of military members to recognize and speak out when injustices are being carried out, particularly on behalf of the US military.
So you're part of the Veterans for Peace protest. Did you know about this group while you were in the military, or what is your connection with them?
So I started speaking out when I was in active duty. This was about April 2024. And they were actually the Atlanta chapter. 125 was the chapter that actually told me that conscientious objection could be an option for me. And so that was my first brush with them. And since then, I've worked with a few other groups, but I think Veterans for Peace continues to be my favorite organization to work with. A lot of them are Vietnam veterans, and I think they have great perspective on anti-war resistant movements.
Well, my last question. No doubt you've heard about the Gaza Freedom Flotilla, which has a ship right now crossing the Mediterranean trying to bring supplies and food to Gaza. Its most prominent passenger is the climate activist Greta Thunberg. So what message would you have for people on that ship?
Stay strong and thank you for doing more than our leaders are doing. We all stand with you. We are hoping and praying for your safety and get to Gaza in one piece and feed those people.
Thank you for speaking with me.
Thank you for having me.